Welcome everybody. My name is Rajnikant Patel. I'm a retired executive and an author of children's books, and I'll be the moderator today. I'll introduce the topic, and then I will have question and answer with the speaker for 15 minutes, and then we'll have audience participating for 30 minutes. Let me first introduce our holistic inner science expert of today. Deepakanandji has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. He has several years of experience working in engineering industry. From the very early childhood, he had an inclination to be a celebrate and was in search of answers to the puzzles of everyday life. His answers were obtained when he received self-realization through the grace of the self-realized holistic scientist Sri A.M. Patel in 1983. Since then, Deepakanandji has pursued his dream to work selflessly to spread the message of holistic inner science and his life living experience to uplift the entire mankind towards inner peace, harmony, freedom, and happiness by answering questions and puzzles of everyday life. He has devoted his entire life in studying holistic inner science, visiting rural areas and cities in India, USA, UK, Canada, UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, spreading the knowledge of this holistic science. He is an expert in holistic inner science and an interpersonal relationship. He has attended many seminars, conferences, and takes part in interaction seminars. Welcome, Deepakanandji.
Thank you, Mr. Patel, for introducing me, and I welcome you all with humility and oneness. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, what is holistic inner science? The holistic inner science is the same omniscience that opens it within absolutes, arihants, tirthankaras, and jnanis, which gets revealed and become life naturally from time to time through such living absolutes only. In today's time, the same science opened up in Gnani Purush, Mr. A.M. Patel of India. He was lovingly called as Dada Bhagwan, although it looked like his another name, but he categorically said that I am not Dada Bhagwan, the God, but the inner divinity of absolute knowledge and perceptions of 360 degrees that opened within him was Dada Bhagwan. The same is within us all, but the light of knowledge and perception is obscured by illusion of self, ignorance within us. What does holistic science unfold? How do all living beings function and react? How and why things happen to us? What is under our control? How can we be happy, harmonious living? What is the law of karma and how to get happiness? And on the spiritual side, it talks about body, who am I, what is the meaning of I did it, I am, etc. How does mind, intellect, reflective conscience, and ego works? Understanding of the mindfulness for amicable solutions for happiness for all our life. And finally, is there a way to liberation? All these internal questions have been bothering mankind from time immemorial. So this fundamental science has been opened up to make our life happy. It is for everybody, no religion barred, and also for any, doesn't have to be educated person. Now, before I introduce today's topic, I like to introduce our homework. For those who are new, we normally give homework for 2 weeks. We can dwell on for our inner introspections. The homework was do an evaluation of how much we depend on happiness from the external things for the body self. Now, is anybody have a feedback or anybody did the homework? Otherwise, I'll share mine. Okay, I'll share mine. When I started this homework, after a couple of days, I was shocked. Everything from getting up, doing everything, going to bed, was body happiness. any unpleasant thing started with happiness and then it ended up in unhappiness. Then I started observing myself, and I soon found out how much I, the big I, was leaving its seat and getting into merged into Rajnikant, and that was the cause of trying to find out external happiness. With this experiment, that was a great revelation. Then I started, this is starting getting better and better of this revolution that you were getting into the everyday life and not observing yourself. Then started doing that, you know, there's inner happiness and this external happiness is temporary. So this was just a start, but there's still long, Rajnikant, there's a long way to go, but this was a good experiment. You have any comment on that, Deepakanandji?
Yeah, you are very right. Absolutely. If we observe ourselves, then all during the day, the time we wake up till we go to bed, we are after body self happiness. So we can say five sense happiness only. And that actually really, I mean, we can say that it really weakens our quest and progress for the true, real, uh, lasting happiness, which is our spiritual happiness. And in fact, I don't let my body get acquainted to the nature at all. Like if we look at the other beings, they are so natural. They don't need a air conditioner. They, they just live naturally and they are so strong. And we, because we want to pacify our five senses, so we end up living abnormally and we lose our inner peace, stability, and happiness because we are so much dependent. So it doesn't matter going for external five sense happiness, which is common. But we have to understand that it makes us weak from inside. And so we must gradually develop that inner resilience so that we become normal and natural, uh, so that we also become perfectly one with all. Because I am a natural being. So that's it.
Well, thank you very much. Now, let me introduce today's topic. For those who are just new, we have been talking about Vyava Vignan, and we started up with anger, pride, maya, and greed, which are the karmic binding for our life. Now, we finished that, so now we're going to look into how do we measure ourselves against those karmic bindings in our everyday life. Eventually, you know, we are responsible for what we do, so we are also responsible to own ourselves, our measure, how we are doing against not binding new karmas. For this, holistic scientist has given us 9 divine codes of conducts, or we call it 9 priceless diamonds. These are all essentials of all holy scriptures as practiced and revealed by the self-realization Sri M. Patel. These also create oneness in all. These are in the form of universal projections or hearty decisions and prayers for one's inner transformation and rich inner living. We will take up the first code of conduct today, which says, "O Lord, bless me with such an infinite inner strength as would restrain me from hurting, causing someone to hurt, or supporting someone hurting even slightly the ego of any living being. Bless me with such an inner strength that in thinking, speech, and conduct, I will take account of all different viewpoints in any situation, such that I restrain from hurting even slightly the ego of any living being." So this topic, you know, I have some questions which rises. So I'm going to put some questions, Deepakanandji, and then you can introduce the topic. What is really ego? where do we inherit this ego? You know, egos plays different parts of role all the time and is never consistent. Same situation in different situation, the ego plays totally differently. So what are the consequences of hurting somebody? At times we hurt others unknowingly, at times we hurt knowingly. Please explain, and how does these 4 karmic bonds come into play? Is there any way not to hurt anybody? How does Prarabdh play a part in our discharge, and what are the consequences? What if you hurt anybody in the past? We have hurt many. This is realization now, but we have hurt many people in the past. So what do we do? By making this first diamond projection or vow or wish, what happens? What is the scientific reasoning behind all this stuff? What is the difference between projection and prayer or a wish? So these are some of the questions that comes in my mind when we into this topic. So if you're into this topic, then we'll start with more questions and answers.
Right. So let us try to understand what does the dictionary say about ego. And so we will get an idea. You know, our body's self-belief as I am the name bearer and as a distinct and unique from the world. What it means, I experience myself separate as a unique entity from the world and other people. So that is ego. In psychoanalysis, it says that it is the conscious or the most immediately controlling our thoughts and behavior and is most in touch with the external reality called the world. That is ego. It can also be identified as pride, which is an exaggerated sense of self-importance. When that ego manifests in the form of self-importance, then it is pride. And if it is an appropriate way, if it is there in a balanced way for oneself, then it is self-esteem also. And everyone must have this self-esteem because that would keep them moving, working hard. So that is basically ego. And it is ego that gets born and it is ego that gets liberated. So that is the thing. Further, you have asked that how do we inherit ego? So it is like we inherited ego from our birth itself. When we were given our name for a unique world identity by our parents or our relatives. And through our life processes, having passed through interacting with worldly, mundane, so-called ignorant people, we have eventually started believing ourselves as name as I am. And then because of the prevailing self-ignorance, having no wisdom of self-knowledge, it all ended up with strong liking and disliking feelings for different things I come across, different people I come across, and situations I come across. And that's how it came in our life interaction. Now with such false, self-motivated independence, it manifested itself as what we are today. Whatever we are today, it is because of that life process we passed through. And we are totally at the mercy of the Mother Nature, feeling miserably helpless at times. And surprisingly, with the best of the amenities of the world, we are unhappy or our happiness is not a lasting one. In fact, we are totally dependent. In fact, we are totally independent, free, and like almighty, omniscient divine spiritual being, but we are not aware of that. And due to which we keep wandering in about that cycle of unending suffering. If we really go further, then you said that what does hurting really mean? And what are the different ways we hurt others or ourselves? What are its consequences and how we knowingly or unknowingly hurt people? Well, we can say everyone has by default, as we have seen people going through the life process, they have this factor of ego without exception. And when we are not determined not to hurt anybody through my thought, speech, and action, then whatever way we inadvertently end up hurting others, because that ego is such, it will end up hurting others naturally. And this would put us in an endless cycle of suffering only. Because if I continue hurting others, then the reaction or the outcome of that is I will get the hurt back. And if we put ourselves very precisely, then fundamentally we are living with total insincerity and immorality, which eventually brings eternal suffering in our life. And that's why it is said and revealed very nicely by holistic inner science that you are wholly and solely responsible for yourself. So it is said that even as a name bearer, if I learn to live nicely, then I can easily get away with my ego. Because for my own happiness, I will see that I live properly. And if you hurt anyone knowingly, with manipulation, planning, and a strong motive, then the natural outcome is you will get the same suffering back in a multiple way. And that would make you suffer knowingly. And of course, if you unknowingly do something, then the results are also you face suffering unknowingly. And here again, the cardinal principle is what you give, you get. What goes around comes around. That's the natural process. Further, you have also said that how does or what are the four karmic bonds they come into play. You see, when our ego is hurt, we all know our happiness shatters. And when we have ego, which is result of self-ignorance and our life process, then there is always a play of all the four karmic bonds. So when your ego is hurt, your happiness is gone. And this awakens our inner weaknesses of greed for more five sense happiness, which in itself is obsession for pride and false ownership. Naturally, you would you would try to protect your pride and ownership with the help of anger. So again, how we have said previously in the previous talk that greed for more happiness, and I start owning that happiness, and then I start having pride, and to protect, protect my happiness, secure my happiness. When it is challenged, then I get angry, I get mad. So further, you have said that, is there any way not to hurt people or not to hurt anyone? Yes, definitely. Because for everything we are responsible. And there is a definite way not to hurt anyone, which is given by holistic inner science. The turning point of our life is when we understand the wisdom of holistic inner science that you decide and it will happen. In fact, whatever happens today in our life is the result of our previous doing, previous decisions only. And in this regard, it is said, you are the maker of your destiny. Nobody has written your destiny. This is how this whole world and the universe is independent. And that is why there is scope of freedom also. Yeah, although it doesn't come to our conviction that everything happening today is in nature is just the result of our past projection and our past causes only. We can't accept that. It doesn't come to our conviction. So if you decide firmly today, whatever done so far, not to hurt anyone, then it will naturally happen such that you won't hurt anyone in future, even if the situation is quite apparent to have a clash. So this is how, when we decide not to hurt anyone, see, we have consciously or unconsciously decided, if someone does like that, I will do. I will not let it go. So we have already prepared ourselves to retaliate, to attack. And that's how it makes us hurt others. And the outcome of that is, reaction is, I get the suffering back to me. Further, you said that how does Prarabdh or the karma's work play their role in our discharge and what are the consequences? We have seen previously, Prarabdh karma means those karmas which are ready to give result in this life itself. So they are inevitable and are meant for suffering. Now, someone with divine vision will surpass all these effect, karmic effect of the Prarabdha karma by pursuing them without becoming a sufferer, and he gets away with the karmas and progresses further in the path of liberation. But one without this divine vision, he will suffer the Prarabdha karma, which are destined for suffering, and he becomes sufferer in that. And natural reaction is he will blame others for his suffering, and this lays causes for future suffering depending upon the intensity of his projections. Further, also you have said that what if we have heard in the past? Definitely, if we have heard in the past, then you're going to face suffering today, now. So, in retrospection, we must recall all our mistakes and fix them through heartfelt forgiveness and firm resolution not to commit them again. Now, it may surprise that we have been talking about forgiveness and all that stuff. We know to wash our clothes every day or once in a week, but we don't cleanse our mind where we have those bad thoughts, the way we speak inside, the way we speak outside and deal with others, where others are hurt, and we have never corrected them. But clothes, we want to keep it neat and tidy. And that is the reason our mind, speech, and body are not cleansed. Physically, we clean, but activity-wise, they are not corrected. And when through retrospection we understand our mistake and we correct them, then even by grossly asking for forgiveness, because many times you don't recall what wrong you have done, but it's like knowingly or unknowingly, if I have hurt someone, then I feel sorry, then you know that perception will open and it will become clearer, and you will be able to see your mistakes individually, and then you will be able to correct them. So it's a process, like how we, even in big industry, they have time for shutdown and they clean the whole factory. And that is part of the process for you to maintain the quality standard. So in the way, if we want to have happiness, then we must learn to cleanse ourselves. Now, you also said that by making this first diamond projection. How it is going to happen? I mean, just by projection, what is happening? You know, we are setting up a target for our own self, not to hurt ego of any living being. Now, this ego is such that it is everyone's existential state. What do we mean by existential state? People thrive on their ego, they survive on their ego. And when their ego is hurt, it's like everything ends. So we must never hurt anybody's ego. It's important because we are challenging their existence. And when we hurt someone's ego, then we are definitely attacking their very existence. So, and we have seen people always retaliate and they want to strike back and they wait for an opportune time and they really hit back, and we see, and we, in fact, we also do all that. So that is how. So for our sustained happiness, we must deal through our mind, spirit, and body. We must deal in such a way that no one is hurt. And finally, our speech itself will become such that it never hurts anybody. Even slightly, not even through slightest negative inner vibration. And that is when our experience of bliss will open, even in this perishable body. Further, you have said that, I mean, you have asked about the holistic science behind this projection. See, with this projection, there is a net science only. It is very important projection in relation to our everyday and everyone's blissful existence. Of those 9 diamonds we have said, this one, hurting or not to hurt anybody's ego, is the most primary one, and in fact the other 8 are extension of this first one only. Our inner discharging karmic forces may compel us to hurt others, but this projection will hold us back and create an inner fire. What it means that when I have decided, I have projected not to hurt anybody's ego, and my discharging karmic force makes me hurt someone's ego, then because of that inner decision which I already projected, it really makes me hurt inside. Oh, that was wrong, I did. This will ultimately burn away. I mean, I will free myself from all inner weaknesses, making me pure, perfect, and normal. It's like if I don't wake up, I don't have a wake up time, then I will wake up at any time. But when I decide I will wake up at 5, let's say, then if I wake up at 4, then I feel, oh, it's too early. But if I wake up at 6, I'll feel, oh, it's late. Why this feeling of early or late comes? Because I decided to wake up at 5. So this decision of not to hurt anyone's ego, because I also love my ego. I also don't want my ego to get hurt, and no one should hurt my ego. So if I want, then I must learn to give. So this projection opens that inner fire, that inner alertness, that inner mindfulness, which will eventually make me correct my weaknesses wherever I'm going wrong. So that will make me pure, and I'll be able to cleanse myself to become normal. This will also help me open my divinity to experience that omniscience which is there within my body itself. And it was with these projections, it is said, which the holistic scientist, it is said that he did it for 40 long years, Mr. A.M. Patel, and he attained his fully enlightened state at the age of 50. And That's the reason we all got benefited from his holistic science, and that's how we are having the talks nowadays. And we are trying to share our experience and reveal the science what he has said so easily, but totally out of his experience. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Deepakanandji, for introducing this topic. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. I'm sure a lot of questions in the audience. But I will start with just one question, and then we will go to the audience. You know, one thing you said, which baffles my mind, ego is born and ego dies. I mean, we have never heard this in the normal life. What we have seen, what is born and what is dying. And so this is totally new to me, at least. So what does really this mean?
Let us try to understand. Don't we say that I was born in 1961, let's say,
Yes.
and I have a feeling that, oh, I'm going to die.
Yes.
So that feeling that I am born, and who that I do I relate to? I as body self. I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So my body self belief as I am is ego. So ego is born and ego dies. But while living the present life, I project, and that those projections goes as causes for the next life. So while living the present life, I cause new karmas through projections. And in the next life, with a different ego, as I am so and so, with a different name, I suffer and I create new one for the next life. So the ego that creates the karma is not there to face the consequences of those karmas. This is the biggest tragedy. Do you understand that?
Yes, 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 yes.
And here here is the wonderful revelation by this holistic science that whatever it is, you have this body, and for your happiness, you must do something. So live with the wisdom of holistic inner science that is so gracefully revealed by Mr. A.M. Patel. And with that right understanding, if we live, then we will be able to surpass our Prarabdh karmas without hurting ourselves. At the same time, we will enjoy the bliss of right understanding and self-knowledge.
Well, that makes sense. But you know, one of the things I'm not going to ask a question, but you know, we always think my mind works, my buddhi or intellect work, and that's the only thing we know that comes into play all of our life when we are born and we die. I don't know what happens to buddhi and intellect, the mind at that time. But again, you know, this is something new that we're not related. At least I have not related this to my ego. So that's very good revolution. Maybe we can talk more. But let's see if there's a question in the audience. Is there a question in the audience? Please raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself. I see Vishal has a question. Okay, Vishal,
Hello.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, JSS Deepakanandji.
Yes.
I have a question. How do we get past self-doubt, and is it related to your ego?
How do we get?
Past self-doubt, when you're doubting yourself and the thoughts that you have, and is it related to ego, your ego?
Right. See, first of all, we all have a bunch of doubts because of the uncertainty of the future. So, you know, the best way is when you are living with right understanding and wisdom today, now. So it's like if you're eating properly, you're taking all steps needed for a good health, then you don't have to doubt. But always you will keep your fingers crossed, but you will be watchful, you will be alert. But just by doubting, you will end up committing more mistakes. So you must respect or be confident that you are doing the right thing and then leave it to the nature. So, there's a saying, I will cross the bridge when I arrive at. But just by doubting, you will not enjoy your present moment, your present life situation. So take care. So it's like you take care of your physical health, you take care of your mental health, right understanding, you take care of your passions, your emotions. And when you're taken care of your emotions, your mental health, and your physical health, be confident and get going. Flow. Like how you have kids, how they are just living their life. They don't worry about the future. But the moment they start using their intellect opens, and then they start thinking much more beyond, which is not right. So it's like it is wise to be watchful when you're walking, say 10 feet, 15 feet. But if you're worrying about 500 feet or let's say 10 kilometers or 500 miles, then it's not right. Because by the time you reach there, things will change, can change. But the way you are taking care of your life now with right understanding, there's no need to doubt, but always be watchful. You understand?
Yes.
Right. I forgot his name. Matthew? What was it? Sorry.
Daryl.
Jay, right?
Can you hear you?
Well, what is his name?
Daryl.
Daryl. Yes. We talked. Yes. And Rajibai,
Yes.
her name is not Vishal, Vishal. So it's like they have combined the name of father and mother.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Next question is Kanchan Bhai.
My question is, you don't hurt anybody, you don't get hurt. But is that all in your life to do, or is there some other mottos to what you want out of this life? Is there anything else beyond this life?
See, first thing, if you really watch around in the nature, then they have the basic struggle of survival. Is it not there?
Yes.
So this is the blessing to the human society or humankind, that after worrying or taking care of their day-to-day living and their kind of life, you said that they're all reasonably protected. So then they think of something beyond the basic survival. So they think of something beyond the life and death process. And that is where spirituality comes, religion comes, guiding us to live happily, blissfully now and afterwards. So then that quest starts, that search starts. And finally, it ends up in total liberation. And that's the process.
Yeah, but when you don't get hurt, your ego don't get hurt, you're at ease. You don't want to do anything. You're fine.
That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Because nobody is done with his ego. And when someone have ego, you will end up hurting others. And when something goes out from here, it will come back. So when you are hurting others, don't think you can rest in peace. It's going to come back to you. And you have to answer that. So that's how you start searching, where am I going wrong? Where am I thinking wrong? Where am I talking wrong? Where am I doing wrong? And that's where you start correcting yourself. Like how it is said, whatever you give, you get. What goes around comes around. Nothing comes from nothing. So all these phrases, they tell us the science of nature, Newton's third law. Whatever is caused gets affected out. So if you turn down the causes, then the effects will cease to happen. So when you know that your ego is hurt and you are hurting others' ego, that is not going to happen because you have to get away with your ego first.
That's true, but I have seen people, they have, their nature is like, not to hurt anybody. So in that case, they don't get hurt.
Apparently, not in totality, not 100%. That factor of fear is always there in their minds. Yes, he is not coming across things, any adverse situations, but that fear factor is always there. Is it not there?
Yes. Yeah, that's a part of it.
Right. So how will you get rid of that fear?
But if you think, like you have to think that all this I have doesn't mean anything.
It's like, as you grow, those thoughts will come. So we go physically, then those thoughts come like that. Same way when we grow inside, then those thoughts will come and you will start searching for those answers. That I'm having everything, I'm happy, everything is fine, but what beyond that? Can I stop? Can I stop my death? Can I prevent death? Can I prevent any diseases? Am I sure that I will not have any disease? This COVID-19 is there, which is really bothering everyone in the world.
Yeah,
and they're careful. I'm not saying no, but that factor of uncertainty and that fear is always there. What is the surety? And on what basis will you have that surety? That is where the factor comes. When I don't want to hurt anyone, I cannot get hurt. And if I get hurt, then there must be something wrong done by me due to which I'm getting hurt. So I have to still further investigate and find out where am I really going wrong? Where have I gone wrong that I am suffering now today? And that's how without a cause, there is no effect. But our perceptions are obscured, they are not clear, and we are not able to see. But as we start correcting ourselves, our perceptions become clearer and clearer, and we understand, hey, this is where I'm going wrong. This is where I went wrong. This is where I committed a very serious mistake. I must correct them. I must not do that for my own happiness. And that's how you grow.
Yes.
It's a process. It's a process.
Thank you.
Welcome, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I have a question, Deepakanandji.
Sure, yes.
I have, you in the interaction, you have no idea, no vow, or no wish to hurt anybody. But then when you do something or say something, the other person gets hurt. So, you think it's not my fault why he or she is getting hurt.
See, one thing is there, the ego factor, our ego factor is so subtle, and we have made our own boundaries, decided our own boundaries, that until this much I will allow and I will do. And we don't know that like subconsciously, unknowingly, we are hurting others.
Yes.
Because the very science of happening says, without a cause, there is no effect. And if there is an effect, there has to be a cause. So we have to be very mindful dealing with others, and we must take care that no one is hurt by us. Because everyone, so it's a wonderful thing. Holistic science teaches us that you start breathing with the other person's breath. You start living in the other person's body, other person's mind. It's a process. So that's how you will live with such humility and care that the other person is not hurt by you. And that is the feeling of oneness, which eventually comes and opens within you. See,
So-
today I'm only worried about my requirement, what I think, what I believe, and that's it. We are so much selfish, we are so much self-centered, but our self is defined by our ego, the body self belief. And that's why I don't care for others. Although I pretend and I say that, oh, I do care for my family and all that, but that is also limited. Limited in the sense to a certain extent. Beyond that, we don't allow because we have not got away with our ego. That is why it is said that our relations are we ourselves only. That is another revelation by holistic inner science. So whoever I interact with, I have relation, then that relation is my extended body self. Because without my body connectivity, I cannot interact with people. And if there is body connectivity through a relation, then it got to be me only. But I mess around with my relations because I feel that that's not me. And for my happiness, I must see that my relations are not hurt by me. And when I live like that with that humility and care, then I will live with perfect care. And that's how no one will be hurt by me. And when no one is hurt by me, I will not get hurt.
But you're talking about beliefs, you know, I have some belief, okay? So I act according to my belief. And the other person's belief is different. And what I act or do, the other person's belief is different. And that hurts her, him or her, then what is my responsibility? Now you're saying there cannot be any effect without a cause. So what's the underlying cause that, you know, is a conflict between two beliefs?
See, then it is like we are not aware of our beliefs, and we are not even aware that we are expressing our beliefs through our life process. And we don't care or don't take the heed of the other person's belief. And that is where clashes happen. That is why holistic inner science has raised the factor of adjustment. You keep your beliefs inside. So it is said, for a cordial coexistence, you understand the belief of the other person, you adjust to the belief of the other person, and still remain in the center. That center is of oneness. That oneness can only be attained and achieved when you have that adjustment. But if you stick on to your belief and don't care the heed of the other person's belief, then finish. Then why are you together? That's why in any association, in any relationship, that factor of adjustment is necessary, mandatory for a cordial existence, coexistence. Just imagine our left leg and right leg. If they don't walk in coordination, how much time it takes to get grounded? In split second, you'll be down. So imagine how our legs, while walking, they walk in coordination that we are not falling down. In the same way, in every relation, this coordination and adjustment is must. We must understand that. And wherever there is connectivity, wherever there is relation, there is some karmic connection. So don't believe that your body is yourself. You must understand that your body and the collective relation is yourself. Then you will always have a consideration for their existence, for their survival, and you see that you don't choke them, you don't hurt them. Then they will live happily with you. And the reaction or the result would be you will also be happy. When others are happy with you, you will always be happy.
So, in other words, I mean, this is very good. But in other words, what you're telling me that if I want to do something or whatever, and I'm associated with people, then I have to ask their beliefs or know their idea about the topic or whatever before I react. Or before.
You're not alone. You're not alone. If you're alone, then there's nobody's questioning you.
Yes.
But if there is someone who can question you, then you become naturally answerable to them. So you must have that consideration. Whatever you do, then otherwise they will claim, I am your better half. So better half must be taken care first, then your half. That's so. They can claim, yeah, Shalabet, it's a moment.
You said, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you said that when we try or when we hurt others' ego, we have kind of earned ourselves a karma and it will come back to us. But supposing I am with a person who is a better realized person, and I may think that I have hurt that person, but that person already who has achieved certain level is not hurt. So how do I know that I may think I have hurt him, but his ego is not hurt? So do I still? How do I know I have hurt or not hurt?
I understand. See, one thing is there. So it is like when we dealt with holistic scientist, then he lives with that inner wisdom. But then, see, for example, if I have to give him certain medication and I fail and forget to give him, but his ego will not react, but the physical body is going to get affected by it. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So I became instrument for his suffering. And in nature, anything goes out from here will come back for settlement. He doesn't mind, it's a different story. Do you understand? For example, whatever vegetables we eat, we don't experience or know their suffering, but they do suffer. But then, in that whole process, by consuming vegetables, we grow. So whatever spiritual earning we do, we make those earning, then part of it naturally goes to them, and that's how they also grow. But what we have to understand, whether the other person feels or not, if we have hurt the other person, it affects the person, but he doesn't mind because he lives in that wisdom. So for him, that is the Prarabdh karma meant for his suffering, inevitable suffering, but he doesn't suffer and he progresses further. For example, Lord Mahavira was challenged by an angel and he was troubled by him. Lord Mahavira never felt that he got bothered by him. He saw his own karma only, that although he is an angel, but it is my karma. So he handled with amicably, he handled. So he never reacted or responded to it. But then who has he challenged? He has challenged a Tirthankara. Do you understand? because of his state and understanding and wisdom, he understood as his karma only, which is in fact, and he went further, he got liberated. But the one who is becoming party to someone's suffering, anybody can understand that he is making him suffer. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But with his wisdom of knowledge, he didn't suffer. So he progressed further. He got away with his suffering, his Prarabdh karma. And he progressed, but he becoming instrument for his suffering, he has to pay the answer in the nature.
Okay.
So
Right.
what you're
Okay,
saying
thank
is we have to be very careful and be very conscious and mindful of what we are doing, irrespective of what our inner feelings are.
See, it's like when children hurt their parents, parents don't mind. But are they not hurting their parents? Parents consider them as their children, so they don't mind. They will go further. But then parents were hurt by their children. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this is where they have to be careful. In fact, the whole process of life is we have to learn that humility and live in with that humility that no one is hurt by us.
Very well
And
said.
that is life.
Very well
That
said.
is the process, or that is the goal we want to achieve, because for our own happiness.
Very well said.
Okay,
Now time is up. So I'll just summarize, and Deepakanandji, if you can.
Can we take 2 minutes? Can we take 2 minutes, because Kanchan Bhai
Oh,
has a question.
I didn't saw it. Okay, sure.
My question is, sometimes you hurt somebody by saying something which is unintentional for me, for us. How do you get around that? Like you have absolutely no intention of hurting somebody, but by a fate something came out and people get hurt. What do you do about that?
See, although you never intended to hurt the other person, but still the other person got hurt by you. So it's like you have to feel sorry for it, because you never intended to hurt, but the other person got hurt by you, and you know that the other person got hurt. Then it becomes your duty to correct yourself. And then actually, we may say that we never intended. Without our intention, we must have that carefulness that when we deal with others, they should not get hurt. But the very fact they got hurt, that means somewhere I slipped, somewhere I was not careful. Otherwise, how the other person got hurt, right?
So
That's
I am
how.
at fault.
So, yes, I must ensure that knowingly or unknowingly, I must see that no one is hurt by me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gradually, that inner power of perception is such, it will make you mindful of your every move, physical, mental, that is thought process, and your verbal vibration. That's why the finality of perfection is measured by our speech. That speech is such a divine one, it never hurt anyone, not even slightly.
So there is a fault in your behavior somewhere in your.
Correct. Right. So it is like the subtleness of our body activities, from grosser to the subtleness. The subtleness is very small, and we don't have that perception. That sharp perception is not there. We are not able to understand and recognize those mistakes, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll take the last question. Hopefully we summarize quickly, the Deepakanandji.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Kirtiben. Cannot hear you.
hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, you start speaking.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Start speaking.
Okay. So how can you change? We have sometimes we have a belief and opinion about
Something wrong. I can't hear.
We cannot hear you, Kirtiben.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No. The voice is very low.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, say, try to say, I will try to catch you.
Okay. How can you change your belief and you have some opinion about somebody, and how can you overcome this opinion and change?
Okay, let us try to understand how we build opinion.
Correct.
Knowingly, unknowingly, subconsciously, we continuously express our opinions. That's how beliefs are formed. For example, so-and-so person is like this, he is like this, she is like that. And it's not just once or twice, I say, repeatedly, I keep bombarding that belief. I mean, I keep expressing my belief. I verbalize those beliefs. And that's why, there's one saying, I'll try to find out that words become these and then it becomes your destiny and all that. From speaking to destiny, it is there. For someone has written that very nicely. That is there. So we must mind our words. It is also said that the world originated by the word itself. And if that right word is understood and realized, then the world will subside. That is why the finality of our experience and perfection is perfect word, Syad Vad. Okay? So we have to mind our words, what we speak. And when we focus on that, whatever you want to change, you change the opinion. You verbalize you correct your belief, and the belief will change.
Okay.
Opinion will change, the belief will change. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Deepakanandji. I'll summarize and then you can give us the homework. We
Right.
talked about the definition of ego and how it plays in all four karmic binding. So we have to be very careful about it. You said we are responsible for ourselves, so we have to be mindful, and we have to make firm resolution that there's a fire inside us that will make us go towards that goal. So with that one, if you want to give us a homework and summarize, then we will.
Now that we have taken the first code of conduct in relation to hurting someone's ego, let us try to focus for this next 2 weeks. Where am I hurting the other person's ego? Where am I hurting the other person? And that's where his or her ego gets hurt by me. So let us focus on how I deal. I'll just give you one example. The holistic scientist, Mr. A.M. Patel, he said in his quest of spiritual progress, he said, never mind spirituality. I must live as best A.M. Patel, as an ideal person. So let us focus on that in connection with the first code of conduct, not hurting ego of the other person. So let me see how I live as individual with my relations. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Deepakanandji, and I would like to thank the audience also for participating. They were very good questions, and we will meet again in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you do your homework. And those people who are new, we've been doing this kind of homework. So if you go into HSCRF YouTube, all the past talks have been recorded there, and you can if you really want to get into mindfulness of the body and the soul, there's a lot of good homeworks we have been doing. So please go and visit the HSCRF website, and thank you very much.